What is going on, guys? Welcome along to another video here on the channel. I'm Ash, you'll know me as Brommer18. Today we're continuing our build up to FIFA 23 and I want to round off my FIFA 23 beta review sessions with a review of the player career mode. Now we've already done reviews on both manager career mode and also the gameplay itself, so if you haven't seen them already, make sure to go and check them out on the channel before you come onto this one, as I might kind of allude back here and there. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and ring the bell so you get notifications every time I upload. Lots of great content coming your way all the time, such as my current career mode series with Manchester United on FIFA 22 with Eric Ten Hag, realistic series, so go and check that out if you haven't done so already. And on top of that, check out the Patreon, the link to that is down below. You can get access to a whole host of fantastic perks and rewards. With that being said, let's get into it. So then, it's fair to say that with my manager career mode review that I did recently, I was fairly scathing about the whole process. I felt not enough was added. It was very kind of stale, very similar to last year, and a few things that were added kind of ruined the experience more than actually adding more to it and giving more meat to the bone. Now with player career mode, it's a little bit different. It's generally seen that their focus was on player career mode this year, and as a result we've had quite a host of new features introduced, and I was pleasantly surprised about this, and I have to say generally they work out quite well. So first things first, let's go through the main features and talk about how, well, whether or not I enjoyed them, and then why overall my experience despite these new features I was a little bit frustrated. So let's start by talking about the new big features, which is kind of the interactions, the budgets, things that you can buy. You can make investments, you can buy objects, houses, cars, etc. And all of these will play into the new player archetypes that we have, where you have Maverick, Virtuoso, Heartbeat. And essentially what these do is these are there to boost your ratings in game. And whether you're a Maverick, for example, that might boost things like pace, sprint speed, acceleration, finishing, or Heartbeat, you might find more like stamina and passing, etc. So different things you do, different actions you take, different things you buy will boost a set of points within a certain archetype, whether it's Maverick, Virtuoso, Heartbeat, etc. And overall, these worked out fairly well. They added a little something to it, you know, with the interactions. Maybe if you come off the bad loss, you could then have an interaction where you could say, you know, blame it on the team or talk about how we're going to recover from this, and that would go towards maybe Maverick or Heartbeat. And these were generally, on the whole, decent. Now, what I will say is a little bit kind of basic, a little bit shallow. Other than boosting those ratings, they don't do a whole lot. You don't see other things like in news, press releases, for example, or kind of interactions with teammates. How does that impact? How does it impact kind of the fan reaction, the board, the manager reaction, etc.? So these features in themselves were fairly shallow. However, unlike some people who've been a little bit frustrated by that, I understand that this is kind of a process and these are the building blocks, these are the foundations where hopefully over the course of the next few games you can develop on these and eventually turn them into something that's really kind of meaty, really engaging, and provides that kind of level of immersion that we are kind of truly looking for from player career mode. So whilst all in all, as I say, they're a little bit shallow, I can definitely feel a bit optimistic about them, and it's certainly at least a decent starting point. In addition to that, we also have the cutscenes. Now, I spoke about this in the manager career mode review, but I can talk about them here as well. Cutscenes, again, similar to the previous feature that we've just spoken about, they add more immersion, you know, they make it more, they flesh it out, basically, and put you into that mode a little bit more, put you into that storyline more. The issue is very much with them that they were quite repetitive. It was generally the same cutscenes over and over again. Now, obviously, I didn't sim through an entire player career, so some things may be different. But generally, on the whole, I felt that it would have been brought more value to career mode if there would have been more, and it'd have been more varied and less kind of repetitive. Because as a result, it just did get a little bit boring very quickly. And that's kind of what I can see becoming an issue over the course of FIFA 23. We also had the playable highlights as well. Again, very a good idea. Really like that. If you want a more streamlined process, this is definitely for you. You can jump into matches, certain situations, whether that be set pieces, for example, you're on the attack, you're trying to see out the final few minutes. You know, all of these are options for you. Now, for me, I don't personally play my career modes that way, but I know plenty of people will prefer that. So the playable highlights and the playable moments element and new feature was very good. Now that was generally what was added to player career mode. Now obviously there was quite a lot within that I glossed over a little bit. For example, with those decisions you have shopping, you have investments, and with those investments comes a degree of risk. You can make lower risk investments which will provide a lower return for money, but then higher risk will provide obviously a potentially higher return if it is successful. Now on top of that you have the shopping and stuff, and it's not just kind of buying stuff to give you kind of points, whether that be Virtuoso, Maverick, just personality points in general. Also on top of that you can kind of get XP bonuses and stuff like that, and maybe some attribute bonuses occasionally. But generally what you're looking at is kind of boosting those personality, and as I say, it's very basic in the early stages, but I can see where that is going. Unfortunately you still can't negotiate your wage, so despite the fact that you are earning a wage that now has a little bit more value that you can do stuff with, you can't actually negotiate that number. So ultimately it just depends on if you want a higher wage. Occasionally you will get a prompt to say request for an increased wage, but it's a set number. You don't get to kind of choose that number. So generally if you do want an increased wage, you're going to be looking to make a transfer basically and move to another club. So that's a little bit disappointing as well. So we've spoken about the new features and generally how I'm feeling positive about that. However, my experience with player career mode on the whole was quite bad and I didn't enjoy it. So why is that, despite having said all of this positive stuff about the new features? Well, quite simply the gameplay. The gameplay, as I spoke about in my recent review of it, was atrocious. However, it was at its worst in player career mode. And the reason being is that in player career mode, now whilst you have the option to play as a full team, what I play as and what most people do play as is just a single player. So as a result, you've got 21 AI players and it's just you controlling one. Now, as a result, it created just ridiculous games constantly. It was just so just goal scoring all the time. It was games were finishing 7-4, 7-0, 6-5. It was absolutely ridiculous. And I was playing it, and after about 2 months in game, I kind of just thought, this is so boring. This is brain numbing, just constant goals. It is ridiculous. And I just got really frustrated by the entire experience. And it's such a shame because, as I say, we've got these new features in which, you know, I want to kind of test out, I want to kind of utilize. But when the gameplay is so poor, you don't want to play the game modes. You just don't. The gameplay is the absolute core fundamental. That has to be right. Otherwise, there's no point having game modes because no one's going to want to play the game. And that is the case with me. On top of that, there were a couple of issues such as player rating, which has always been a problem, but I noticed it to be a really major issue that I zoned in on during the beta testing, because I could kind of score a hat-trick in a game and get assists, etc., and still not get even like a 9 match rating. It was pretty ridiculous. I remember coming on as a sub, starting with obviously a 6 rating, you know, getting a couple of assists, and I'm still within the 6s. I'm kind of thinking, what on earth do I have to do to get a decent match rating? It was pretty ridiculous. It was kind of more like the PES kind of match rating system, where anyone who does play PES will know obviously to get a 10 on that, to get even a 9 is quite frankly impossible. So there were areas with that were issues as well, but generally it was the gameplay that created the biggest issue for me and just made the entire experience not fun at all. So that really is a disappointment, and to be honest, I can't see it changing that much. We'll see whether sliders can do with something, can make it more kind of tolerable when the game does come out. But for now, very pessimistic about it. So what do you guys think? Anyone who played the beta, please do let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of not only career mode, but the gameplay itself. With player career mode, obviously very optimistic going forward. Hopefully they can keep building on these kind of features that they've introduced. They've toyed with it with things like the journey, for example, in different areas. So hopefully we can see more of that. So let me know. Let me know what you think. And also, if you didn't play the beta, are you excited for the upcoming release? What do you think? What are your expectations? Really want to hear from you guys. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and ring the bell so you get notifications every time I upload. And on top of that, don't forget to check out my Patreon. The link is in the description. You can get access to a range of fantastic perks and rewards on there. Check out my second channel. Link is also in the description. Access to all sorts of kind of gaming content that we've got coming that way in the future. And also my Twitter. The link, once again, in the description. Give me a follow on there. And with that being said, it is time to end it there. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And until next time, I will see you soon.